Good morning, old gang o' mine. I apparently have been remiss, as they say. Um, One of the followers actually sort of did a wellness check, and I looked, and yeah, it's been like 7 months since I made a video. I've also picked up a bunch of new followers for whatever reason, which I appreciate, but I try to explain. People that know me know me. Uh, I left almost 3 years ago, left my house, sold everything, and took off on my little Royal Enfield Himalayan with my little dog Izzy, and lived in the woods and traveled and stayed with friends and traveled some more and rode some more. And then I needed a faster motorcycle, and I got a DR650 and did another 50-some thousand miles on that. We're at 80,000 miles now in just about 3 years. Anyway, this started out pretty much as a just wanting to share what it's like to live on basic Social Security and travel. There's not much of anything else left. And I hope I inspired some people that this kind of life can be lived, this life can be done. But I'm not an influencer, and I'm not a content creator, which means I don't spend a lot of time setting my motorcycle up for shots or putting my drone up enough and all of that kind of thing. And at times I get a little lax about the whole thing. My biggest joy is sharing the things that I've seen, the things that I've found, and all of that. I got to say that in the last year, it was wearing a little thin, and political stuff has got my head all wrapped up, and a lot's been going on. So last fall, what is it now? during last summer, I met a nice young lady, well, my age young lady, and we had made the decision we wanted to start traveling together. She doesn't ride a motorcycle, so that necessitated getting another one, which I'll kind of, as we get toward the end of this, we'll talk and do a review. And we took off this fall and left Florida after there were a lot of months of getting a bike ready, a lot of months of buying the bike and traveling. So a lot of it you haven't heard from me because there was all the logistics of that. Then it was an exciting run to Texas, but we've been through it kind of before, and I didn't put up a lot. I put up more on my Instagram and my Patreon page. And Patreon now has a level that is free, which I like having, because I like to be more inclusive about that. I mean, I had a $4 a month level, but free is even better. But I do appreciate the people that are on that channel that do subscribe and help with the bills some. My little dog can be expensive to feed at times. But I picked up the other bike, and we're traveling with that now. We went up to Northern California, sort of spent what we figured was the winter, and I hope to spend March and much of April exploring Utah. This year has been like the weirdest weather ever, and it was just unseasonably cold for a long time. We got into Death Valley, which Death Valley was what we would now call comfortably warm valley, and that was a great time. But Utah was beautiful as ever, and I want to get back and explore in depth even more. But we were just kind of pushed around by cold. Where could we go that wasn't too cold? And riding is okay. It's we're okay camping out until we get in the low 30s. That gets pushing it. You just really don't. It's not enjoyable. If I had some super gear for that, then that just means more weight. But anyway, especially for all the new people, I sort of started out doing this mostly based on a trip that I took, or a couple trips I took back in 2012 when I had a V-Strom and money and hotels and KOA type campgrounds and all that garbage. During that time, I met a lot of people on the road that were nomads. They had been out for years and years and doing basically what I'm doing now. And they said, I've been in my motorhome for, 5 years, sleeping on BLM land. I'm like, what's BLM land? I'm like, I know nothing about any of that. So in 2022, July 22, I decided that, I was done with being a nurse, done with a lot of watching too much garbage happen, and sold the house and took off, grabbed the dog and left. I kind of went out in search of those nomadic people. I wanted to write a book at the time, and I found I'm not going to say they don't exist, but I haven't found them on a motorcycle. And what I live now is equivalent to what everybody knows as van life, camping out, staying with friends, etc. Nothing commercial. I think we've stayed in 4 hotels, 4 maybe 5 hotels in 3 years, and those were kind of emergency type situations. But anyway, that's what's going on. We finished up what we could of Utah. Losing my mind here. Nothing new. And we headed to Missouri. Missouri, I have friends here that have a sort of a great little compound that I can do a lot of work on the bike. We needed to get some wheel bearings in and brake rotors and brake pads and front fork seals and a bunch of stuff. And that's what we've been doing. Also found that with 2 of us and the dog and living full time, not as a weekend vacation, even though I switched motorcycles, and I'm going to get to that in a minute, it was just too much, the weight up top on the bike, the weight on the racks, just handling it was just monstrous. And so I've got a Kitmoto Surepacks, I guess they call it, single wheel trailer coming. So that's what's the hold up right now. As soon as I get that, probably another week and another week or so to get it licensed. I say within the next 2 weeks, we're going to be on the road again, heading towards South Dakota. Probably take a week to get there. We're just wandering and again, camping out along the way. And I've been through South Dakota a couple times on this whole venture, but it's always been with some sort of deadline, and I haven't been able to just, I want to ride Needles Highway. I want to go to the Crazy Horse Monument, Devil's Tower. We'll go up over Beartooth Pass again, mostly because I'll have Lynn on the back with me, and she can take pictures, whereas when I'm riding on Beartooth Pass, you really got eyes on the road, unless you want to go airborne. But anyway, that's the plan. That's what's happening. I'm not much of a reviewer, but I do like to let people know what I think of products when they come along. So I'm going to do one a little bit later, fairly soon, I promise, about the 30-second tent. And you've probably seen these pop-up tents all over. And they have their pluses and minuses. I want to lay down my thoughts on that. And certainly when the Surepacks trailer comes in, the one-wheel trailers are supposed to be capable of, going off-road. I've seen people going over jumps with them. Everybody that has one claims you won't even know it's back there because it leans with you and everything. And it's going to get a lot of weight off the top end of the bike. So we'll do a review on that too. Meanwhile, the bike, yeah. Everybody's, what are you riding these days? Motorcycles a lot of times are just out of necessity, and this is one I haven't quite fallen in love with yet. I started on the Himalayan. I love the Himalayan, just absolutely. People, downgrade it and look at the specs and they're awful, but it's a quirky little bike with a great personality. When I needed to go faster because I got into cities too often and all, I needed more power, I switched to DR650. DR650, even when I had a better job or a job and money and all of that, when I sold a bike, when I bought a new bike, I usually sold the old one. The DR650 I love so much that even broke as hell, I've got it stored. I'm not letting that one go. The DR650 is a combination of a Jeep and a Hammer, never let me down. And, over 50 some thousand miles on that bike. Um, never a burp. Just absolutely loved it. But it's not going to haul two people, a dog, and pull a trailer. It probably would, but it's going to bog it down, and that poor little one-cylinder thing's going to die. I always tried to stay away from all the electronic bikes because I wanted to have something that I could always fix in every situation. And I knew that, ABS and traction control and ride modes and all that good garbage, I'm going to be in trouble if something goes wrong there, because I can't send the bike into a dealer to be fixed. That's what we live on. But there wasn't a lot of choice, and in the big adventure bikes, and I was not going to give up the gravel roads. I was not going to give up, an occasional little trail into the middle of nowhere. Among the big ones, there were the BMW, which has some reliability issues and also costs a whole lot more, and the Yamaha XT 1200Z Super Tenere, which is what I've got. I picked one up in 2012. 2013, they added cruise control and heated grips, but I got a throttle lock and I've got heated wrap-on grips, so that makes little difference to me. It had 5,000 miles on it, 55,000 miles on it. I've put another, I think, 12 on it now in the last couple months. I do like the bike. It eats highways and back roads and twisty roads. And I'm going to defer from doing any real in-depth interview or review on it, because I can't stand to go to a review that just says the same thing as everybody else says. And Ryan at Fort 9, I'm going to leave a link to that in the first comments here, did the best review. In fact, the reason that I bought it. And it's funny because his whole attitude is that it's not that exciting of a motorcycle, but it kind of does everything. And it does. And as he says, and this strikes me constantly, constantly. I get into situations, dirt, gravel, ruts, rocks, things. I'm not a great dirt rider, and this thing weighs a ton, especially with all the stuff on it. It's absolutely weightless when it's moving. I mean, a mile an hour, it's weightless. I've never been on a bike this balanced. And his comment there is riding it down a trail, saying this bike has no business being here, and yet it does. And yet it does probably describes that bike better than anything I've seen. I'm still shocked every time I get in a situation. Oh God, this is way too sandy. We got to turn around. Turning around, I find hard as can be, because the bike's heavy as can be. It's difficult. You can barely touch your toes paddling, although I have lowered it. I'm not a big guy, like 5'7" and 150 pounds, and turning this 585 pounds empty, we're probably pushing 800 plus. Turn around is a pain, and then I look at the sand going back to where I was and go, okay, stand up and give it a little throttle, and it just goes chug, chug, chug. It goes through the wind like it was planted like a freight train. I never think I'm going to get blown off the road. I think my personal body is about to be blown off the bike, and the bike's not even wiggling. I came from the DR, which I love the DR, but it's got to be the worst wind bike ever to the best wind bike I've ever been on in my life. Steering on it is very strange. You can get into the whole counter steer, and when counter steering doesn't steer a bike, counter steering leans a bike, which allows it to steer, which allows it to turn. And generally, in most cases, trying to lean the bike to make it turn doesn't work as well as counter steering, because counter steering causes the bike to lean. However, you can put a knee into this in any time, and it just leans and turns. And it's almost a bit unnerving when you go into corners when you first start riding it, because it turns so freaking easily. You actually end up feeling the counter pressure to hold it from going deeper into a turn. Once you get used to that, it just rips. I think I've ground more pegs on this thing in the shorter time I've had it than just about anything I've ever ridden. So it's good for that. Mileage is good. Reliability's been good. I blew out some fork seals, but we're replacing all of that stuff. I don't really have a lot of maintenance records on it, so I'm kind of going through and doing everything. Go to the forums right away, and they're about reflash your ECU. I think this one's been done the way the bike acts. It's a little difficult to get to it, but I'm happy with the way it's working. But it acts as they do when they've been flashed. They say, get a set of ignition coils, because when they get wet, they crap out. Coming up on the valve adjustment, probably in another 7,000 miles, if they did the last one right. Hopefully, I'm counting on the fact that they did the last one on schedule, but then I just watch the mileage and listen to the motor more than anything, and everything's so far so good. And mileage, if mileage starts to drop, I got that. But I got a full set of shims, and when I get to Washington, we're gonna set the valves again. It's every 12. It's funny. Everybody goes, "Oh, you'll love this bike. The valve adjustment's only every 24,000 miles." And yeah, it takes you 9 hours and blah 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 blah. And I go, The DR had a valve adjustment every 4,000 miles and took me 20 minutes, which I liked a lot better. It was like something to do in the evenings. So anyhow, that's the deal there. I'm not going to go in a whole lot on the Super Tenere. I'm getting to love the bike. I said I didn't have any reason to love it like the others, but it just does everything I ask of it, and I'm going, and it's always been in a situation where I've got myself and going, oh God, this is not going to be good. Let's just twist the throttle and go. Stand up, twist the throttle, let the bike do its thing, and it doesn't. The front wheel doesn't even knock around. It just, I don't know. the DR was a Jeep and a Hammer. This is a freight train and a bulldozer or something. I don't know. But anyway, getting to like it. Lynn has been a great addition to this ride. She gives me some break from my little Izzy, and which I don't need much of a break from her. She's everything there. Taking pictures. We're going to be able to document a little better. She feeds me better than I'm used to. I'm, really good at eating crap in gas stations. Anyway, that's what's been going on with us. I will get pretty pictures up and all that crap soon. We didn't have... I got some from when I was in Utah. I put some up on Patreon. I put some up on Instagram, but not a lot. But like I say, I kind of went through like a slump thing, because I want to share this. It's so incredible. I kind of download America as I ride around, and I want to share that. I want other people to experience the things. I'm not trying to build the big fan base or any of that stuff. I want to share and maybe inspire and happily ride with anybody that wants to come along for a while. That's been my goal. But because I'm not, a 30-year-old Instagram guy that looks at it as a job and posts every day, builds up my numbers and all of that stuff, I was getting a little frustrated. I felt like, well, I'm just talking to the wall. So here I am back again, and no exciting vacation pictures and no exciting motorcycle pictures or any of that stuff. But we're gonna get back to it. We're gonna get it in there, and I'm gonna make those things happen, because I appreciate everyone that's following, and like I said, please watch Ryan's. I bypass reviewing the Super Tenere, but it's like this guy is the god of reviews. So, I send you that way, please, if you're ever interested at all in the Tenere. And it's a great bike, and it's got a great following. It's got a great group of people in the forums. There's a huge knowledge base, and with all of that, I hope to keep it running for a long time, because there are a lot of things I can't fix on it. But then again, it's just got such a ridiculous reliability record that, you know, hopefully I won't have too much. You know, I've found that I can muscle on the Dunlop Trail Max Mission rear tire, tubeless with the thick wall, and on a cold day onto it. You know, it's a wrestling match, but you can do it. You can change the tire by yourself in the field. It's nice to have tubeless tires. I can plug them, but I've, knock on wood, never had a flat yet. So, well, yes, I did. Yes, I did. I did on the DR. But other than that, you know, this is what's going on. This is what we're doing, and this was not the most exciting of production videos here, but this is, if you don't know me, a lot of times this is what you get. I sit down there and make notes. I'm going to make script this and this and this and this and this, and I just turn on the camera and yammer away. But I hope to get better than that, and I hope you keep following me. I hope you'll tell your friends and like and subscribe and all that good garbage, and that you know, maybe you'll follow along on the Patreon page. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I do like that one because I do have some people who subscribe and they spend some money, and it actually amounts to just about my tire budget. I am very happy people subscribing at the free level as well. That's, you know, they're most welcome. I have the choices to put the posts up to the public, to the whole group of followers, and to only the paid followers. Usually it's just to a whole group of followers, occasionally to the public, and I don't have any reason to just limit it to the paid followers unless there's some sort of discussion I want to have with them. So I'd be happy if you follow along there. The problem with Patreon versus Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all of these platforms, if I have something to upload and I'm out in the middle of nowhere, I could put up the upload, and if it uploads 3 seconds on this cell tower and that 5 seconds on that cell tower and whatever, and it takes 3 days to upload, it will. In Patreon, unless I have a really good connection, if it doesn't upload all your pictures, you know, right away, it just errors you out, and that can be aggravating. So sometimes, if you're a Patreon follower, there are breaks. They aren't intentional. It's mostly because I can't get something uploaded, and then I'll just go, okay, fine, we'll just put it on Instagram, we'll just put it on wherever. But there are places where, you know, photos work better on Instagram. 360 photos really only show up on Facebook. Videos are best on YouTube. 360 videos are like only available really on YouTube. So I try to put up some combination of all of this stuff and some of my book writing stuff, which I'm going to try and get back to because I've completely derailed my direction. I will put on Patreon and there, because, you know, you're not very public about that while you're writing. Anyway, that's what's happening. Welcome to Missouri. Like I say, another week or so. I will get out a review on the 30-second tent soon, like this week, next week, and then we'll start on the stuff about the trailer, and then we will start talking about the ride, the trip. I know the first thing we're going to do when we leave here in Missouri is we're going to Uranus, Missouri, to the Uranus Fudge Factory, because the best fudge comes from Uranus. So, peace out.